Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode about Chatting About Fairmont. I'm Mom.
And I'm Brendan.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes, thank you for joining us.
Yes, and once more, we are talking about Beyond the Gates. And last week, we talked about the fallout of the relationship that Ted had with Leslie slash whatever her name is, and his marriage to Nicole. And so at the end of that particular scene or the scenes, we were given a black curtain, which to me it kind of indicates that that was the end of that larger storyline. Yes, we have the ramifications of it that's still occurring. However, to me, they kind of symbolize that was the end of that, like I said, the larger storyline. So today I want to talk about some of the possible upcoming storylines that could be occurring. Brandon, are you ready to get started?
I am, are you?
I am Brandon. And just so everyone will know, the taping of this is on May 26th of 2025. All right. Since the fallout, we've had quite a few storylines that have started to be introduced or reintroduced to the screen. And something that Brandon and I have talked about that we've noticed about Beyond the Gates is that to us, it seems like they kind of test out storylines and then they kind of pick the one or two that they want to kind of build or move forward. And so we're going to talk about these and kind of discuss which ones we think will be possibly the next big push out. First of all, we've got Martin. Martin's storyline in regards to the secret that he has and the reason he has nightmares was introduced pretty early in the series. And so we know that Vernon is involved and Bill is involved somehow. Smitty, we do not believe, knows anything about what happened. And so his secret is something that is still talked about. So that's a potential storyline or a storyline that is still occurring. Brandon, do you want to add anything to the Martin storyline?
Yeah, it definitely seems that while Smitty does not know, I can tell that he knows something is up and it has to do with Bill directly or indirectly, but it's the question of how much can he really push for that secret using his journalistic instincts until it's too late.
Yes, totally agree there. And so that's one of the storylines that we believe will be moving forward. We have Bill, who has some sort of a medical condition. We see his hand shaking, which of course could be symptoms of a few different types of medical conditions, but is happening now on a regular basis. First, his daughter saw Naomi has seen it, and then we have seen that Haley has seen it also, and so he's played it off. He has not gone to a doctor, and so that is a storyline that could potentially be occurring. We have Doug and Vanessa and Joey. They're just interesting altogether. And so we've got a possible gambling storyline here. We have Vanessa and her men. We've got Joey, who's sort of blackmailing Doug. We've got Joey, who wants part of the real estate or some realtor input, real estate input with Vanessa. We have their potential affair that could be happening. I mean, we just have a lot that could go on between Doug, Vanessa, and Joey. And then we have this big push that has just come aboard, which is Anita and the Articulates. Anita sang a song with her family, and she started talking about her previous singing career. Vernon, of course, has picked up on this, and so she has decided, or they have decided, in order to reunite with the Articulates, the singer group in which she worked with previously. So far, we've been introduced to Tracy, who was one of her singing partners. And we know that there is another lady out there, I can't remember her name, maybe Sharon, I don't know. But anyway, we've got another lady out there who was part of the group. And there's a big secret that has gone on there. This seems to be a big push at this time. We also have her granddaughter who was part of the pushing process. Brandon, what are your thoughts about Anita and the Articulates?
Yeah, I certainly think it's quite interesting how they're having this play out. And again, like we were saying, that it seems that the show definitely throws various different storylines at us to try to see which one's going to fit, which one doesn't. But in terms of this one, I think over the past 2 weeks, we've really seen them drive home with it. We see Anita trying to reach out to her various Articulates members, and so having her friend here now, I think, is very interesting because she definitely seems more receptive to having to reconciling with Anita, but also very skeptical of her at the same time, like trying to, in a sense, almost like go undercover to try to get her from within, in the sense of like, how dare you do this to us?
Yeah, yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what the big secret is, and whatever it did apparently affected the way Anita lived the rest of her life, um, and affected Tracy and nameless girl who is not speaking to her either, who is not speaking to her. Um, all right. And Brandon, you had something else to say?
Yeah, and I will note that I think a part of that secret is I think that there may have been a extra person involved or potentially a loss of someone because they keep mentioning the incident and that they always think about this other person and they haven't named this other person or what the incident is, but it sounds as if something happened to someone that caused the group to shatter apart before Anita did whatever she did.
Yeah, you're correct. They keep mentioning that all the time. And of course, I kind of wonder what Vernon's role is in all of this too. Um, and then we had this character named June who was kind of brought in, someone who was arrested, and but um, but Naomi has decided to take her under her wing along with her husband Jacob. And so right now, June is in the hospital, but there's a lot of storyline around June. Now they did, I will say, they did kind of do a nice little take on her and had her imitate a persona per se that that Anita would have known in a different life. And As the World Turns, with her character, I didn't watch As the World Turns, so I don't know the character she played on there. But but yes, so they did do a little play on her. But in essence, we have this June character who's holding on to his picture with these children, but we can't see the children. And it makes you wonder who she is related to on the set now. I mean, she could very well be someone who's has something to do with the articulates. It could be that she is the mother or grandmother of the children that Martin has adopted. I don't know. So, but they are spending a lot of time developing this June character. We also have Eva, who, like I said, is really what we're looking at now as what is occurring to her after the reveal has happened. So we talk about Eva and her relationship with Ted, Leslie, and then her new siblings. I mean, they could go in all sorts of directions there. We've already seen Eva kind of bond with Martin, and that was a nice scene that they did play. I'm sorry, Kat is very suspicious of Eva, and she is still kind of playing detective. But Eva and herself and all the fallout that's happened because of this, because of the being the new sibling and all, and daughter, that'll be interesting to see how they kind of play everything out. Brandon, I'm gonna let you speak about this. Anything you'd like to say about Eva and all her people?
Yeah, well, I definitely have a lot of thoughts about that. Before I do, I did want to circle back to what you're saying about June, and that you actually had an interesting thought as to what who June may end up being.
Okay, which one did you like?
Yeah, so you had mentioned to me earlier off screen that your thought is that June might have some relation to Haley.
Oh yes, I'm sorry, I did say that too. That this could be Haley's mother. She Haley has not said much about her past. I believe that it is led to believe that her parents, or at least her mother, passed away years ago, if I remember correctly. Is that correct, Brandon?
Something like this, just enough. They gave enough information to show that she does not have any real parental figures, but it didn't make it sound like as if they didn't exist, but that some circumstance happened where she did not have that constant presence.
Yeah, and that she, not to say she was raised, but she was, of course, good friends with Bill's children. And so that Danny actually had some part in kind of raising Haley in some sense, even as a young adult, more so. But yes, so that'll be interesting to see if they kind of, loop June in that way too. Actually, for me, that would be more interesting because Haley, to me, at this point, doesn't really have storylines, so this would kind of give her a storyline. We also have Danny, who is just as busy as ever, but Danny's talked about having a new modeling agency. And so this would be a different storyline, and they're looking for new models. And so I don't know whether or not they plan to create a new model or how they plan to use that storyline, or whether or not at this point in time that's just something that they're doing to keep Danny busy. Then we have Andre and Danny and their relationship. Um, and so we know that Danny does not want to come forward and be public with Andre as a couple yet, but that's something that Andre wants at this time. So Danny is continuing to hide their relationship, whereas Andre does not want to hide any longer. We have Nicole's new life without Ted, so that in itself is just a storyline. Then we have Tomas, who, and the question is, Tomas, who do we want him with? Do we want him with Eva or do we want him with Kat? They've kind of paired it where it could go either way. And then we have his promising law degree. We also have his promising law career here. And so will he have a storyline with Bill that goes along with it? So they're kind of planting the seed with Tomas. And Tomas, for the first time, I believe, if I remember correctly, mentioned a family member. And so, it'll be interesting to see whether or not they actually follow through and have this family member kind of show up. And then we have Ashley and Derek, and the question is why in general. I like I like Ashley. Derek leaves a little something there, but they are like the most boring couple out there. However, I have been amused by the fact that living together is not for them. But Derek, to me, is more boring, and I'm not quite sure of his point. Ashley, I do like, and I think they could build upon a storyline with her. We do have Andre as someone who could be with Ashley. However, I think that's too simple. They need to kind of do something a little extra there. Brandon, what are your thoughts? We have had talks about Ashley and Derek. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, they're certainly interesting in the sense that their storylines have, for the most part, been completely out there in terms of not really connecting. Now, there are a couple that we saw from the very beginning of on episode 1, so I'd like to think that they have some sort of connection, something that they're going to do. That being said, I don't know where exactly they're leading to this. I mean, I don't think this is enough for it to be a standalone story. Maybe it can somehow connect to like Jacob and Naomi somehow. I don't know where exactly they fall in, but I hope that they just don't keep this lingering.
I know, and I forget that Derek and Jacob are friends. I'm always look shocked when they're together, and so I don't know where this is going. So I just hope they figure it out and kind of do something with them. And then we have this storyline, which to me has just kind of popped up. It has to do with Leslie's previous friends. I'd say previous because they don't like her now, but and I can't remember their names. They are now they're kind of coming in and they're having conversations with Leslie, or I should say Leslie's having conversations with them. And so I think it's interesting that these people are still there, unless they're just extras that they need to move storylines along. But that's another storyline that's there. We have Chelsea recently who's come out to her mother, and so that'll be interesting to see where they want to do with that particular storyline. And then we have this Andre Nurse documentary that we started and then we kind of forgot about, and now they've talked about it again. And I think it's about first year nurses, and so I'm not sure where they're going with this or whether or not Andre's supposed to tape something that he's not supposed to tape. I don't know. But anyway, we've got this storyline that's out there too. So we've been presented, and I'm going to see, Brandon, if you have any others that you want to add, but we've been presented with a lot of different just hanging storylines out there. And so the question that we have is which one are they going to move forward with? Before I tell you which ones I think they're going to move forward with, Brandon, were there any storylines that I kind of left out?
Yeah, there's a few, I think, miscellaneous side ones that have been sort of floated around. I don't think they're going to pick these as the main ones, but maybe it might be one of those extra threads, so to speak, that are just hanging out there.
Okay, such as?
So, for instance, with Ashley's mom, Jan, I believe, that they had some illusion in the sense of that there was something going on with her story and when she was raising Ashley, that and there was a mysterious man stalking her, and so but it seems that Leslie knows a little bit more than what she's leading on to. So the question is, what's going on there? Is there some secret that Jan's keeping from Ashley?
Yep, that's true too. I do remember that, and there was a strange man. What's interesting is for that particular episode is that there were like 4 to 6 characters that kind of walked out all at the same time. So the question was, who is this mysterious man going after? And we did see. I thought something was going to happen to the mom, but she did pop up a little later on the next episode or a couple episodes later.
Yeah, another thing that I noticed is that they've been focusing a lot on Laura and trying to figure out, who ran her off the road, this and that. And so I'm wondering if they're adding her back into the fray, especially since you were mentioning, of course, Leslie's previous friend, so to speak, of Jan and Mona. So yeah, is she going to be one of those people? And so yeah, I definitely think that there's a lot to that's there that I don't think will be the main storyline by any means, but I'm curious as to how they're going to develop that. And then we have the side thing of Shanice trying to figure out what's going on with her hospital staff, and that, of course, big investigation going on.
Yeah. So that there are just a lot of different storylines out there. So the question is, who's going to be the next large storyline? And so here are and I'll go with 3 predictions right now. I think they're going to continue with the main cast, meaning the Dupree family, the main four, because they've got so much to explore with them. And so I think the first thing they're going to do is tackle Anita and the Articulates. They're spending so much time on that I think they're going to do something with that particular storyline. So that for me is the first storyline I think they'll tackle. The next storyline that I think they'll tackle is Martin, because we keep hinting about Martin. Now, whether or not he's finished, 3 months from now or even the year anniversary, I think they're going to continue with whatever's going on in his past. And like I said, Smitty's getting suspicious. So there are too many people, meaning that Vernon and Bill, who know what's going on, that they're going to do something with it. I still think that Martin's past has something to do with Andre and his parents. Just me speaking, that's just what I think. I could be so wrong, but I just think that it might have something to do with that. I think it's something that happened to Martin when he was older, not necessarily a young person, because it doesn't seem like Anita knows about it, or at least it doesn't seem like she knows a lot of details, because it's always Vernon who's speaking to Martin about it. All right, so I think Martin's one that will pop up. And then I'm going to go with one of the new characters. I'm going to go with Jude, because they're doing something and they just haven't put all the threads together. And so I like to see who she's related to. And like I said, I kind of like the Haley storyline the best in it, because it will give Haley a storyline right now. Because as I mentioned before, Haley's kind of boring right now. She's just kind of attached to Bill. So I think it'd be nice for Haley to actually see her mother, because right now there's not a way for she and her mother to be together. And I guess one of the ways that I'm sorry, this just hit me, Brandon. Um, with Bill having his hand shaking issues, Haley could bring her mother to the hospital where she sees. Haley could bring Bill to the hospital where she sees June there. So it'd be a way to kind of bring them together that way. But anyway, those are my thoughts for 3 main storylines, and we'll have to see. I'm going to keep track of this list, and we can come back to it, in a couple months and see which ones actually came to fruition, if any. All right, Brandon, which storylines do you think will, if you had to pick 3, do you think will actually go move forward?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely fully agree with what you're saying, and I'm thinking that right now, because we started off with a Danny storyline for the first one, and then a Nicole one, I think the next one's going to continue on with the Articulates and Anita. I just think that's where it would go. But something I've noticed that was interesting is even the one that was per se focused on Nicole per se, or Nicole's life, was not actually about Nicole.
No, it wasn't. It was about Ted and Eva more so.
Yeah, and so I thought that was so interesting. And then even now in the Fallout, we are barely even seeing Nicole.
Yeah, we are still seeing more of Leslie, who is just as amusing as ever. But yes,
Yeah, that being said, I think that we will continue on this path, so have Anita next. But I think the one that would be immediately following that would probably be a Vernon one. And I would like to think that maybe the Vernon one might tie in with the Martin storyline and bring Bill back into the fold, because it seems that for those four main characters of the Dupree clan, that they are sort of the center focuses that tie everything back together, and then the other main characters just sort of fall into place with those extra storylines. So that being said, maybe this one for the articulates is maybe a one that focuses on Anita, but also has Naomi in it, and maybe there's some other people that follow that make their sort of core for this section.
yes, and I agree with you totally, Brandon. All right, and we'd love to hear from you guys. What do you think the next storylines will be on Beyond the Gates? Let us know in the comments below.
Yes, definitely, please do. And Mom, I did want to ask you too. What are your thoughts about New Ted thus far?
New Ted, that's still in the making. I have not decided. I do not dislike New Ted. I just got used to old Ted, and so I have not decided yet what I want for New Ted. I like the new Ted is bonding with Eva. I do like that. But one thing I noticed about old Ted was strong in regards to resisting Leslie. I don't know about new Ted, and that sounds weird, but they have them too often in a room together. And so I don't know what that'll do later, especially since Leslie wants to now imitate Nicole as one of her personalities. Um, so I have not decided about new Ted. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I definitely got used to old Ted, and I will say I'm so glad that they kept old Ted around long enough to one make it to that party, because I would hate for the whole big reveal to be with a brand new actor,
Yeah.
but they let the reveal play out. But then the beginning part of his relationship with Eva, and I thought that was very satisfying to see uh, the previous Ted and Eva together, especially trying to build that bond back up, because I thought it made it more impactful. But now I think this is sort of the perfect timing, about 51 episodes in. So um, I'm excited to sort of see what new Ted's going to do. But I will say the thing that threw me off is not necessarily anything to do with performance, but is that the structure of the intro is different now.
Yeah, yeah. We're all about introductions, so yes, yes, yeah. All right, Brandon. Well, we appreciate everybody watching today. We'd love to hear your thoughts about Beyond the Gates. Make sure you like and subscribe if you're interested. And we look forward to speaking with you soon about the next episode of Chatting About Fairmont.
We'll see you next time.
All right, have a great day, everybody.
Take care.